Well, listen, it's getting closer and closer. August 26th, next week, Conor versus, I was going to say Paulie Malignaggi just then, because that's the big one in the news right now. Conor Floyd is next week. I guess we should talk about what happened last week with Paulie Malignaggi. Of course, they put out that Conor and the UFC put out that picture of Malignaggi led on the floor. It looked like he'd been knocked down or knocked out even. And, of course, then Paulie Malignaggi went around and he was pissed. He was kind of going crazy and talking shit about Conor. He said he's cheap. He said that he doesn't look after his sparring partners and all this type of stuff. He said that he's arrogant. He talked a lot of shit. And then to rebuttal that, the UFC, well, I say the UFC, Dana White, that is the UFC, I guess, put out a very short clip of Conor and Malignaggi sparring. Did you see that? I'm assuming you
I did see the clip, and this it started a few weeks back. I guess there was the picture that Conor put out of Malignaggi on the ground and him standing over him, and they were kind of just putting out stuff from the training camp to make Malignaggi, who I don't really know shit about boxing, but I'm assuming is a fairly accomplished boxer, former champion, correct?
Yeah. Well, Malignaggi was a former champion, and listen, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on Malignaggi at all, but he was a good boxer. He was a former world champion, but any time that he stepped up and fought anybody of note, like a Ricky Hatton or an Amir Khan, anyone like that, anyone that you might have heard of, he lost. Right. He was still a very, very good boxer, still a world champion. And, of course, he's been retired for a while. But still, that said, still an accomplished boxer. Now, Malignaggi is kicking off, saying it's ridiculous, saying release the whole footage. Yeah. He's saying that he won rounds 1 to 10, and rounds 11 and 12 he was gassed. Apparently, he just got off a plane and all this type of stuff. But I got to say,
but is it a
he's kind of coming off bad here.
Let me ask you a question. Is it kind of a, from the training perspective, right? Because I think his point was, and correct me if I'm mistaken, that it's like, don't put out pictures where you're making it look like you're kicking my ass and you're making me look dumb. I'm still somebody who's looking for respect in the fight game. I'm helping you prepare for this, and you're kind of through social media and through Instagram photos and making it look like I'm a fucking chump. Why you're not really supposed to do that? Did Conor McGregor cross a line by putting out that stuff and making Malignaggi look bad?
I don't know. Maybe, but I mean, yes and no. I guess you could argue it both ways. At the end of the day, listen, we're grown men and we can do what we want. If you're going to step in there and punch each other in the face and spar, Randy Couture had an interesting take on it this week. I'm not sure. He was speaking to Fox, Skip Bayless, I think, and he said that he'd never sparred in his life, and neither have I, where you bring in a professional referee. And if you bring in a professional referee, they were kind of recreating a fight environment. So really, he was there as a practice fight and not so much a warm-up.
Right.
And if that is the case, because having a professional referee does kind of create that. Now, one reason why he maybe had the professional referee was because it's all about visualization, and the more you visualize, that's why some fighters, that's why GSP, I've worked with GSP's sports psychologist, and he was trying to get me to do the same thing, but I didn't do it. What a lot of fighters, and you see John Bones Jones doing it, you see a lot of fighters doing it these days. They walk into the octagon the day of the weigh-ins, and GSP's sports psychologist was telling me, listen, practice the walkout. Imagine the crowd. Imagine everything. Walk out with your team. Give your cornerman a hug. Get into the cage. And, really visualize that whole experience. Imagine the crowd and the referee and Dana White being there and all the rest of it, so that when it actually happens, you've been there. And I thought maybe they're bringing in the referee so Conor could kind of,
visualize,
replicate that in his mind and visualize it.
Right.
Or maybe it's because he was trying to, have a warm-up fight. And if he was having a warm-up fight and that's what it was, then I guess you can put pictures out there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I always kind of thought the idea of sports psychology, it was a little bit silly. I'm sure there is some validity to it, but it's like, I don't know, man. Look, there is validity.
Well, listen, here's the thing. So GSP's sports psychologist tried to get me, and God bless him, he's a very, very good guy. His name actually slips my mind right now, so I apologize if you're listening to this. No insult intended. It just literally slips in my mind. But he wanted me to, as I said, go through the entire fight day thing, walking into the cage and all the rest of it. Did I do it?
Yeah.
No. Did I fuck? day of the fight or the day before the fight, I'm trying to relax and all the rest of it. Listen, sports psychology is great, and some of the sessions that I did with him were very, very beneficial. But also,
what do they do at a set? Let me ask you a question though, because this is kind of, I have no idea about this. This is really intriguing to me. What is a session of sports psychology like? We all know what therapy is like. You kind of talk about, the things that are, going on in your life, and they'll, get to the root of them. They'll, you make breakthroughs. What is like your first session? You sit down with a sports psychologist. Do they have you lie down like you're with a regular therapist? You start talking about your goals in sports? I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, well, me neither. I mean, I'm kind of naive, but I did do a couple of sessions with him. And as I say, he was very good. And this was a long time ago, so I'm trying to think back. But if I remember rightly, what we did was, and we were doing it via Skype, and he said, turn off all the lights in the room, lie on the floor.
Take your dick out.
I've got a rug by the computer, lie on the floor, turn off all the lights. And he just, he spoke to me and talked about the fight and talked about what I want to achieve and this and that. A lot of inspirational things and, all that kind of stuff. And as I say, it was our first session and we were doing it via Skype. So not exactly the ideal, scenario. But I did find it very beneficial. If anything, it got me really pumped up to go and train. I did want to work with him more, but I'm kind of an old school guy, so I never really did it.
What if
I'm assuming GSP will be doing it for this fight?
Let me ask you a question though. Aren't you a little bit afraid? Like, what if GSP is working in cahoots with this sports psychologist, and while you were in your deep trance, he put fucking some sort of spell on you or some sort of like hypnotize, where he's like, now you can't stuff a takedown. It's like when I snap my fingers, you will not be able to stuff a takedown, and you have no idea this is going to happen, and GSP is going to lay on top of you for 5 rounds straight, and you're going to have no idea why.
Well, that would be GSP's only hope in hell of winning this fight, and he would have to go to some kind of extreme measures because I'm about to embark on my training camp. I've just come back from Maui, had a fabulous vacation, ate too much, drank a little too much. Honestly, I was very, very good. I didn't drink much. I can't say I was drunk on any occasion. I had a couple of glasses of wine and maybe the odd cocktail here and there. I was pretty good. And we were pretty active, but I did eat like a king. So right now I'm pretty heavy. I'm actually 228 pounds. So I've got to start losing weight, and the diet and the training starts now. As soon as I finish this podcast, I'm driving down to UFC Gym Costa Mesa, meeting with Brady Fink. We're going to do some jiu-jitsu training. Yeah, the training camp starts now. But there's no way GSP wins this fight. I'm sorry. There really isn't. If I get some good wrestling, some good jiu-jitsu training on the feet, I have it my way all day. He's a smaller guy. He hasn't fought in 4 years. So it's going to be very, very interesting. And he's going to have to get a bloody sports psychologist to put me in a trance or something like that if he's going to win this fight. Because honestly, I don't see a way that he wins it. And I'm looking forward to proving everybody wrong, proving myself right, and thanking everybody for their support over the years. But we were talking about Malignaggi and Conor McGregor and somehow went off on a tangent. But I got to say, Malignaggi isn't coming off too well because because first of all, he was adamant that it was a push down. Remember?
Yeah.
He was adamant it was a push down, and I'm sorry. What did you think, Luz? You think that was a push down?
I don't know. I mean, I saw the picture of that, and then I saw the little 20-second kind of thing that Dana White put out on Instagram or the UFC put out. I don't look, dude. I really don't know shit about like boxing form. I don't feel like Conor looked that great, but if that was really late in the fight and they were both super beat up and tired, I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Conor looked like? Because there was a bunch of people commenting like, "Holy shit, Conor looks terrible. Why are you putting this out, Dana?" When it comes to boxing form, when I start speaking and think I know something, I have no fucking clue, and I always get put in my place by you. I literally want to know what you thought of that video. Did you look at that video and go, oh shit, Conor's looking good here? Or did you look at it and go, that looked kind of sloppy and it didn't look like he knew what he was doing?
Okay, so so here's the thing, right? When I look at fighters, for example, Dan Henderson is somebody that everybody knows has amazing knockout power, and I fought him twice. First time obviously ended very badly for me at UFC 100. My boxing coach at the time, Mark Kinney, who's a fantastic boxing coach, said, listen, you're going to have a walk in the park with this guy. He's fucking awful. Look at him. And you know what? Technically, when you watch Dan Henderson, his striking isn't that good. And from a boxing purist standpoint, if you look at him, he's fucking awful, technically bad, all the rest of it. But just because you're not technically perfect and your form isn't great and you don't work the way that a boxing coach wants you to, doesn't mean you can't be effective. If you've got the balls to walk forward, take a couple of shots here and there, and you pack dynamite in your hands, you can still be, drastically effective, as Dan Henderson is and was. And even in our second fight, he hit me with 2 of those big shots and cut me open. Of course, the other 25 minutes, I beat the crap out of him, but still very, very effective. And the point I'm making, the comparison I'm making is, although, you're saying there that some people are saying, wow, Conor looked terrible in that. I didn't think he looked terrible. I actually thought he looked very, very good. But if they're saying from a boxing standpoint that he looked terrible, maybe, but you can't deny that he was effective.
Yeah, he was hitting
he was certainly effective, because that one left-hand that he landed snapped his head right back. And okay, there were some other shots, those little rabbit punches to the head. Listen, it was all Conor. All right, it was only a 20-second clip. And of course, Malignaggi is saying release the rest of the video. He's saying rounds 1 to 10 he dominated, rounds 11 and 12 he was gassed. But I feel that he loses all credibility, because he said it was a push down. It was a push down. It didn't look like a push down to me. It looked like a legit knockdown.
Yeah. Look, here's the truth, right? What's happening with all this, you sound like you are slowly starting to be swayed and think that Conor has a chance.
No, listen. He's got a...
Tickets.
I know somebody that is in the Mayweather training camp. Okay, and MMA, I shouldn't say this, I'm giving clues, you could probably work it out. I do this all the time, don't I? But I know somebody in the Mayweather training camp that is saying that Mayweather isn't training very hard. Ooh. He said that Mayweather generally, when he's seen him train, is a thing of beauty. It's a thing of inspiration, that you've never seen a human being work so hard in his life. But he said that on this occasion, he's not working that hard. He's training a bit, but he's not training like he usually does. Now, at the open workout, we saw Floyd Mayweather for around 2 hours just go from bag to bag to bag, throwing an absolutely unbelievable amount of punches. It's crazy that a human being could throw that many punches and not be tired. So I kind of thought, well, maybe he is training. But this guy that I know says that he's not training like he used to. So that obviously sways towards Conor. If Mayweather's taking him lightly, that's going to be a big mistake for him. But still, I would give McGregor a 10% chance of winning this fight.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Look, puncher's chance, whatever. I'm not swayed anymore. I think Conor's going to impress everybody, and he's going to go to a decision with him. The one thing is this as well, which Mayweather's saying. He did an interview this week or last week, whenever it was, and he was saying he's going to go forward. He's going to go after McGregor. He's going to knock him out. He said that if it goes to a decision, that's a victory for McGregor. Yeah, I agree.
Did you see that?
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think if he goes to a decision, simple as that is embarrassing for Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah,
he should be able to knock him out.
But listen, look at what's happening. It's the exact same thing as fucking Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo is a counter fighter. He doesn't go forward. McGregor got into his fucking head, and Jose's like, fuck this guy, I'm going to knock him out. Went forward, which he doesn't really do. That's out of his character for the way that he fights. Went forward, super aggressive, got knocked out. Now we see Floyd Mayweather saying, I'm not going to take a backward step. I'm going to go forward. Now, I think that's just Floyd trying to sell the fight. Okay, he's not going to say that I'm going to back up and be defensive. That doesn't sell the fight. But if he is telling the truth, then he might fall into the same trap of Jose Aldo, because Conor has got the power. All right, Malignaggi says it's not oh my God power. He said it's not ridiculous power, but he said the power is there. And if Floyd Mayweather goes forward, listen, is it going to happen? Probably not. But you can see how the parts of the recipe are falling together to where we might have another Jose Aldo situation on our hands.
Yeah, well, look, God damn it, if that happens, and I'm calling this right now with everything that's
going on. If that happens, I'm going to shoot myself in the face.
If that happens.
Not because I'm a hater, but it's just like, what the fuck? Jesus Christ.